Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, I want you to think for a second about Robert Oppenheimer. You know, the guy who literally split the atom? Or think about Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Natalie Portman. We all have this archetype in our heads, right? The Harvard genius. People who just seem to operate on a completely different intellectual level than the rest of us. But here's the thing. Before they were icons, they were just regular students sitting in a classroom. So the real question isn't whether Harvard students are simply born smarter than you. The question is, why do they learn differently? Today we're breaking down the exact neuroscience-backed techniques used by elite students. Because spoiler alert, they aren't necessarily smarter. They just know how to use their brains way more effectively. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The genius myth, 2. Hacking the forgetting curve, 3. The power of pausing, 4. Embracing desirable difficulty, and finally 5. The dopamine anticipation loop. Let's jump in.
Starting right off with number 1, the genius myth.
I want you to really think back to the last time you prepared for a massive test. You probably studied all night, right? You read your notes, highlighted all the important lines, completely exhausted yourself, but you felt incredibly productive. Then you walk into that exam room feeling ready, only to realize half the material is just, poof, gone. It's an incredibly frustrating feeling. It honestly makes you think you just aren't smart enough. But listen to me, it has absolutely nothing to do with your intelligence. What we're looking at here is our true villain, the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. A German psychologist named Ebbinghaus spent his entire life studying human memory, and his findings were honestly pretty brutal. Within just 1 hour of learning something new, your brain has already forgotten 50% of it. Give it 24 hours, and 70% is gone. By the end of the week, you only remember about 25%. This right here proves exactly why all that hard work just seems to evaporate overnight. Which brings us to number 2, hack the forgetting curve. Look, elite students at top universities aren't somehow immune to this biological reality. They just know exactly how to hack it. And that brings us to the very first massive myth we need to bust right here, right now. Cramming. You have to understand that your brain has 2 types of memory. Think of your short-term memory kind of like your phone's RAM. It's incredibly fast, but it's super limited. It can only hold so much before it starts, dropping information. Your long-term memory, on the other hand, is your permanent hard drive. Cramming is literally like trying to download 200 massive files into your RAM in one single night. Your brain physically cannot process all of it, which actively prevents that crucial data from ever reaching your long-term hard drive.
So, what do you do instead of panicking the night before? Well, Harvard teaches a method called spaced repetition. Rather than studying everything once in a total panic, you study in small chunks spread across multiple days. Here is the exact schedule you want to use. Step 1. Review the material right after you learn it. Step 2. Review it 24 hours later. Step 3. Review it 1 week later. And finally, Step 4. 1 month later. Every single time you review the material on the spaced schedule, your brain recognizes the information as highly important. Basically, your brain is thinking, hey, I keep seeing this thing, it must be vital for my survival. And that simple repetition pushes the data deeper into that permanent hard drive, flattening that awful forgetting curve every single time.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. By dedicating just 15 consistent minutes a day to this spaced method, instead of, say, a grueling 8-hour cram session, you can improve your long-term retention by up to an insane 200%. I mean, that is literally the difference between barely scraping by and entirely mastering a subject. All right, moving on to number 3, the power of pausing. Let's just completely destroy another toxic habit right now. The myth that sitting down and grinding for hours without stopping is some sign of pure discipline. Science actually says that's one of the worst things you can do to your brain. Researchers at the National Institutes of Health literally watched what happens inside the brain during and after learning, and what they found is amazing. During a break, your brain actually acts like a high-speed video editor. It rapidly replays and compresses everything you just studied, saving and filing it away 20 times faster than in real time. 20 times! Let that sink in for a second. The majority of your actual learning gains happen during the rest period. The break is the studying. To actually execute this, Harvard students swear by the Pomodoro technique. Here's how it works. Step 1 is 25 minutes of intense, completely focused study. Step 2 is a 5-minute real break, and I really want to emphasize the word real here. That means walking around, getting a glass of water, or literally just staring at a blank wall. It does not mean scrolling through social media reels. Social media keeps your brain active, which directly interrupts your brain's mid-save process. After repeating that cycle 4 times, you take a longer 20 to 30-minute break. If you don't do this, stress continuously builds up in the background and your retention just plummets.
Next up, number 4. Embrace desirable difficulty.
I've actually saved the most powerful technique for last. This is one that dictates how you retrieve information rather than just how much time you spend staring at it. I want to pause for a second and ask you directly, when you review your notes, what you actually do. Really think about it. You probably read them, right? Maybe you read them twice, highlight some keywords in yellow, and feel pretty good about it. But science has completely destroyed this method. It's called passive review, and it gives you a very dangerous false illusion of competence. Just look at the stark difference in the data here. Students who rely on passive reading and highlighting, they remember only about 29% of the material. But students who use active recall remember 57%. That is nearly double the material retained for the exact same amount of time and effort. Now, active recall means closing the book, grabbing a blank piece of paper, and writing down everything you remember from scratch. And no peeking allowed. And it gets better. When you combine this active recall technique with the spaced repetition protocol we talked about earlier, your retention rockets to over 80%, and that is true even months later. How crazy is that? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When you first try active recall, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's hard to just stare at a blank page. But the discomfort you feel when you can't quite remember a fact, that isn't a bad sign. Actually, scratch that, it's a great sign. Harvard researchers call this desirable difficulty. It means that by making the learning process slightly harder on yourself, your brain is literally being forced to build much stronger neural pathways in real time. To put it simply, and honestly, this is the best way to visualize it, passive review is like sitting on a bench at the gym and watching someone else lift weights. Sure, you understand how the machine works, but you aren't getting any stronger. Active recall is you actually stepping up, gripping the heavy weights, and building the muscle yourself. And the payoff for embracing this difficulty is absolutely massive. Studies show that students using active recall score 15 to 20% higher on exams, while actually spending 40% less time studying to reach that level of mastery. Less time, better results. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Finally, we arrive at number 5, the dopamine anticipation loop.
Now, for the bonus technique. This is the secret engine that powers this entire system and keeps top students endlessly motivated. It's all about how you reward yourself. You know, most people think the brain chemical dopamine is just about feeling good after an event happens, but neuroscientists have found that it actually fires when your brain anticipates that a reward is coming. This is the exact same chemical anticipation loop that makes Instagram scrolling so insanely hard to stop. Your brain just gets addicted to the potential of a reward with every single swipe. Well, elite students basically flip this exact system, and they use it for studying. By intentionally setting up small, strict rewards for right after your Pomodoro sessions or your active recall tests, whether it's a snack, a short walk, or watching a quick video, you can hijack this exact same chemical anticipation loop. You're effectively training your brain to actually crave the study process itself, all because it's anticipating that sweet, sweet reward. So, let's wrap this all up. Hacking your brain means recognizing that academic success is about the method you use, not some innate, untouchable genius. By using spaced repetition, taking real breaks, embracing the difficulty of active recall, and leveraging your dopamine loops, you are completely rewiring how you learn. You're working smarter, not harder. The whole system is right in front of you. So, with this newly upgraded brain, what challenge will you conquer next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.